Hello, Greg. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Accepted Authority Conversation. Each week, we talk about attracting and converting premium clients consistently and predictably by sharing our own experiences as business owners and as consultants. And Greg, lovely to have you as always.
Thanks, Andrew. Good to be here. And yeah, looking forward to talking about another challenge that we find for professional service firms, particularly around acquiring high quality premium clients, and yeah, typically seeing what they struggle with, and in my experience, the biggest challenge that most professional firms have.
Yeah, definitely getting good clients. And today we want to talk about consistently generating high quality leads. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, Greg, on some of the mistakes that you're seeing as well. So
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your journey into how you've developed, your previous businesses and what's working for you at the moment.
Yeah, well, just so that everyone knows, I've in the past 25 years started, grown and sold 3 professional service firms or consultancy firms, particularly in the business consultancy space. And I definitely had this challenge in each of those businesses until I cracked the code, if I can use that term, on client acquisition. And for me, it was typically having one source of clients or client generation, which was like most people, around referrals, and
yes,
hoping to get referrals. And luckily, because we did a good job, they came reasonably frequently, but there was never the ability to scale what we were doing by relying on referrals. It was always waiting till we got a referral. And although we managed to get enough opportunities to grow a reasonable sized business, it wasn't growing as quickly as I wanted to grow it. So I had to come up with another way of growing my business effectively. And unfortunately, and maybe this is something I know a lot of other consultants experience when they go to explore marketing. They tend to try lots of different things, even getting advice about marketing from all sorts of experts who are, to give them their due, are probably good at what they do, but perhaps don't really understand the challenge around marketing professional service firms, which I think is quite different from marketing other businesses with physical products, or even more frequently used services like plumbers or dentists and those sort of people. So yeah, for me it was going through that painful process of trying another thing and wasting my money and not having that work, until eventually I decided that I really needed to work this out myself. And what I was hearing from other marketing consultants wasn't working for me, so I need to go back to square one. And being a consultant, applied my own analytical processes to what was going on, and really looked at it step by step as to what was happening. And what I saw is that really, and in a way too, the process around selling to referrals almost exacerbates this challenge for us, because we get used to getting a phone call or an introduction to a potential client, having a brief conversation and saying, well, let's come and have a chat. And so we enter the sales conversation very quickly. And so any marketing that we do tries to get us in that position of get in front of someone to have a sales conversation. But what I really found was that we had to take it back a few steps and start to build a relationship with a potential client before they were ready for the sales conversation. And what I discovered is in that process, I was really demonstrating my authority, my expertise, my abilities in solving the particular problems my clients had before they were even thinking about, buying a service, and probably they weren't even thinking about buying our services at the initial point of introduction. So it was about, building a process, a step-by-step system to build that relationship where they could start to know us, like us, trust us before they bought from us. So systemizing that process over that learning period was, really what enabled me then to be able to scale my business and effectively get it to a point where, we had clients coming, reasonably consistently and predictably.
So having done it yourself, Greg, and going through that painful process, what have you learned now in your own business, and how do you help your clients sort of break through that, that lead generation space?
Yeah, well, one of the things I learned, and what I learn from clients that come to me now, and typically, when they want more clients, they'll come and ask, how do we get more leads? What I've learned is that's the last question to ask. It's more about building in the authority positioning into the process first. So, you're not going to the market almost hunting for clients, but you're building a system that is able to attract clients to you. And, when you have that system of attracting clients and, using what I call authority positioning, where, you're deliberately setting yourself up to be seen as the accepted authority, which hence the title of our chat here.
Yes.
So, coming to that positioning process so that people see you as the authority, so that they start to come to you already pre-sold by the time they get to that sales conversation.
It's really interesting that you say that, Greg, because having gone through a similar challenge myself, having worked in consulting firms, big and small, and then moving into more about the communications, the marketing side, I went through a process where the first sort of 3 years or so of my my journey was really around, wasn't so much about the industry that we focused on. It was more about, we'll do a couple of different services. And then by actually only now really focusing down and saying, look, we want to work with consulting firms, and we offer this particular, 12-week program to start it. It really helps people. I find that people sort of self-select themselves, which is when we're talking, if you're watching or you're listening about how you do that and consider the sort of conversations that you're having with prospects, do you feel like you have to impress them? Well, really, it should be the other way. They need to impress you. They need to feel like, well, am I a good fit for you? Because, you work in a particular niche. So is that something that you're finding as well?
Yeah, well, I've got a favorite saying that, you need to position yourself as the savior, not the servant. And, when we talk about professional service firms, everyone's about service, and that's what we do as consultants or as people in professional services. We provide a service, so it's easy to see yourself as being a servant. But really, what I see happening, and some of the mistakes I see owners of professional service firms making, is that on their websites or in their marketing, their services is what is prominently displayed. The website says, maybe their name, maybe, how many years they've been in business or their expertise and qualifications, but very prominently, very quickly is, here's the services we provide. And, that unfortunately is what almost every one of their competitors does as well, which means there's no level of differentiation. If someone does happen to be looking for those services, which is actually pretty rare in itself, but if someone did happen to come looking for your service, and they go to Google to find who provides these services, they're going to come up with a whole list of providers who look almost identical to each other. And make it very hard for anyone to actually understand what's the difference between any one of these companies. And, if they do go to market then, with requests for proposals, it's, the cheapest one wins, which is not the sort of positioning that, that I've seen, being effective. So to flip that around, the authority positioning then is really, demonstrating your expertise or authority through, what's in the industry known as content. As we, put out articles on LinkedIn or, YouTube videos or, educational type content where we are able to know and, and attract people because they're, on Google, they'll find some content about, how to solve their problem.
Yes.
And they see us then as knowledgeable and authoritative about solving that problem, and start to undertake a process where they want to find out more about, us, how we solve that problem. And by the time that, they've answered a few questions by finding out, more material that we've produced, they've got more of an idea and more of a feel for us. So they're going through that know, like, trust process themselves by following the breadcrumbs of, the content that we've produced strategically to help people, come to that point where they decide for themselves, well, we need to talk to this guy, or we need to talk to this firm, or whoever it might be.
I think the selling widgets versus selling benefits, I see that in a similar vein, Greg. I was talking to a client a couple of weeks ago, and the first thing is you go to the website and it's really about the technical talk. This product to do these sorts of things, and these are the offshoots of it, and is very apparent. And the fact that they're still generating good business is interesting, because if you just added that extra 5-10% and just flipped it around as you're talking about, then they're immediately going to stand out. And the idea of focusing on, as you say, what is that solution that, or what are the main benefits of coming to me is I find it sort of fascinating topic. I mean, do you also think, Greg, that a lot of professional services companies were set up by the technician, so an accountant, financial services person, an IT person, and then because that's what they know, right? They do that service, so they know that product, they know that the industry inside out, but then they don't deviate from that. So do you see that often?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we go to university and spend a lot of years getting our degrees, and then we, go and work for a firm and, get more expertise and learn from someone who's an expert. And then we decide to branch out on our own. So naturally we set up a firm in what we know, what our experience is. And, that's great, but the trouble is, during that process, we've not learnt about marketing. We may have, learnt, typically in days gone by, the people in the firms who brought in the clients were called rainmakers. And they would be the ones who would, focus more on finding clients, and they would go to networking meetings or be part of a network of people who did business together, and they would then get referred clients that way. But I was having a conversation with one of my clients, who is going through this process with me about positioning themselves, and they're just trying to work out, how do we get positioned? And I, referred to the process that a doctor takes in terms of how to work with a client, and we need to mirror that same sort of approach. But then he said, well, how does someone find that doctor who solves your problem? It's still typically through a referral, and and that's typically the way most professionals get work. It's still going to be through referrals. But what if instead of that I know someone who solves that problem, because that's a very limited prospect. If we have to rely on someone knowing the person that solves your problem, there's a narrow field. But what if that referral came in the way of, I saw someone who was running a webinar about that exact problem. Why don't you check out that guy? Or I saw a book that was about this topic. Why don't you Google? I think the title of the book was such and such. Why don't you Google that and find that book, because that might give you some answers. So when you've got those opportunities for soft referrals in that way, it's actually in a lot of ways more beneficial, because people get to see your authority, and you're positioned as the authority. You're running a webinar, you've written a book, or it could be some other type of content. If someone refers you that way, then you've got more of an opportunity to build your trust, build authority through the process that you can set up to take them through. If that content and educational process is specifically designed to lead people from that initial problem solving level of awareness to take them through more awareness about the solutions. And when they see that you have a solution and you've become the authority in their eyes because you're the one teaching them about that, then they automatically come to you to get it solved.
Yeah, I love the saying that people hire people who bridge the gap. They don't hire a coach, they don't hire a consultant, they hire you to take them from a big pain point to where they want to go. So yes. This is something that we'll be talking about during this series, unpacking the authority. How do you make yourself more competitively attractive? We talked about marketing a little bit in this in what Greg did initially. So we'll be covering all those sorts of things in these series of conversations. So thanks so much. I'm Andy Marmont. We've got Greg Rowett there, and we'll see you next time.